What do, Ben Crew? It's your boy Savon Thomas. We are back with another segment of Coffee with Friends. This time we're talking about Gilmore Girls, right? We're specifically focused on season 1, but this actually will be our first recurring podcast. So talking about each season in depth as we watch it. I am joined by some Gilmore Girls super fans. I don't know if they call themselves that or not. But friends of mine that I know that enjoy the Gilmore Girls, and so they watch the season with me. So I'm looking forward to diving into season 1 of the Gilmore Girls. I certainly have some thoughts as a first-time watcher, but we'll dive into that. But I'll let everybody on the pod introduce themselves. Who wants to kick us off?
I can. I am Amanda Kenyon. I'm 29. I am recently married with 2 fur babies. And I have been a fan of Coffee and Comments from day one. Day one supporter right here.
That is actually true. Amanda has always been a ride or die coffee fan. In fact, I owe her a coffee mug every single time I talk about this. I talk about how I've been talking about coffee mugs for a year now.
That's
And
true.
I haven't done it yet, and I will make the investment one day. But everybody on here though will get a coffee mug. So every single person that's joined will get a coffee mug. So all you guys like that. Who's next?
Okay, I can go. My name is Taiwo Bankole, and I am about to get married in like less in a month, I guess. But originally from Nigeria, moved here when I was 24. But I have been able to make some amazing friends, be in a great community. And I'm just excited to continue to explore American culture, which is why I saw Gilmore Girls. But so exciting, and I can't wait to dive more into what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Funny enough, sorry, Michelle, let me cut you off.
You're good.
I was at like a farmer's market or something in Frisco, and there was this Nigerian couple, Yoruba couple, that had they have like a pie business. They were selling pies, and they go, "Are you Nigerian? You look like you could be Nigerian." And I was like, I've heard that before. I was like, I have a couple friends that are Nigerian, and I've heard that before. And they're like, "Oh, you're just American?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just American."
Just
Yeah, and then I was like, I enjoy some jollof rice and some fufu now and then, And they're like, "Okay, we see you." And I was like, "Thanks, appreciate."
Just American. That's funny.
Yeah, just American.
Hmm.
Michelle?
I'm Michelle Munoz, 29, getting ready to get married as well. Yeah, this whole team is really just getting it. Yeah, just kind of running through it, ready to be done, ready to be a wife. So
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. It's 3 women who are married, getting married, and just a single guy that is out here watching Gilmore Girls for no reason. So I find that hilarious. This podcast, the
That's
dynamic
actually
of this,
really funny.
the dynamics of this podcast is hilarious. You guys should make your significant others like watch a season and have them join randomly.
Actually, Zach, fun fact, Zach actually has been watching Gilmore Girls with me because it's kind of just one of those shows that's always on in my house.
Yes.
And he loves it. Like
Andy loves it too.
he's like,
Yeah.
this guy is
He loves it too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not alone, Savon. I'll just tell you that right now. You're not alone. And if we need to bring like Namdi or Zach in or whoever else watches it, I'm sure they'd love to pitch.
Absolutely. Yeah, bring the dudes, bring the guys into the pod, talk about from the guy's perspective. Because like I'm watching this show and I'm like, okay, the women on the podcast probably are thinking about like Lorelai and like and Rory and their relationships. I'm over like this man Luke. I feel this guy Luke and what he's going through. So yes, absolutely. I it was an interesting show for me because I'm like, this story's about Rory and Lorelai, technically both named Lorelai. But I was like, the dudes in this show, how are they feeling, right? How does Tristan feel? We'll get into stuff. We'll get into all this stuff from my perspective. For me, this was my first time watching it. I know for you guys, I know every single one of you guys have probably watched Gals. Let me say Gals, not guys. I have watched it many times, but I'm curious, like, when was the first time y'all watched Gilmore Girls? Do you remember?
I was in Wait, hang on. I have to do math. How old am I? Okay, so I must have been like maybe 9 or 10, I think, for me. So I was young. I had to have been in elementary school because I would remember that Gilmore Girls came on CW at 4 or 4:30 p.m. And so as soon as we would get home, me and my older sister, she's 5 years older than me. So she would get home and we would she would watch me while we were at the house waiting for my parents to get home from work. And the first thing that we would do is flip on Gilmore Girls and watch Gilmore Girls every single day after school. So this was like from a young Amanda. Like I had to have been like 7 to 9 years old.
7 and 9 years old, man. It goes deep.
It does go deep.
Awesome.
Anybody else? When did y'all start watching it?
I just started watching it. I watched it last year for the first time.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I was educating myself on a lot of the American culture. Just, I wanted to make myself more relatable, especially whenever people are talking about like really like common movies from their childhood that they had grown up with. And me moving from Nigeria here, we like growing up, I saw different, like I did see some American, but not like the common ones. And so someone had recommended just going on Netflix. I think it was Namdi. I wasn't sure. I'm not sure, but just going on Netflix and flipping through like some of the classics. And I just seen Girlfriends, which is the black version of
Friends.
and Girlfriends, amazing. Like just having that representation about like a community of ladies. And so I saw Gilmore Girls as a recommendation from Netflix because I had seen Girlfriends. And so, I just started watching it and I loved it because just loved it. So yeah.
Nice.
I don't remember the first time I ever watched it. I know I was a kid, but it was just something that was playing in the background and it was very comforting. And so not until maybe in the teens I started kind of getting into it officially.
So what is it about the show that like just do you guys just love? Like was it just because you like it encapsulate your life as well? Like could you relate to like Rory because she's like growing up as well? Or like what is it about the show that just like gripped you? You're like, I love this show. This is my show.
I think it's the town for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's so sweet, like and small, and like you have everything right there, and everybody, small town, it's really cute, and I think that's something that drew me in, but also like, yeah, I don't know. There's something about this warm feeling of nostalgia it gives, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because I definitely don't relate to most of the show, right? Like these like white people like growing up in this small town in Connecticut. And it's just like, it's not very like relatable in that sense. But I think for me, it was like the relationship between Rory and Lorelai. They just had such like a close friendship as like a mother and daughter. And for me and my mom were very close. And so we would just like hang out and I talked to her and we had a really good relationship. So I felt like, oh, that could be me and my mom, maybe not to like the certain crazy extent that they are, but in a way I was like, oh, that's me and my mom because we're so close and she's like my best friend. So I think that was probably, it's like, you always relate to like something. And that's, I think, what I grabbed onto. The rest was just like fun, the town and the winter. It's like Christmas is my favorite time of the year. So the fact that they love the snow and all the things that fall into place, everything else was just like great, plus coffee,
I think for me, it was also like the relationship that Rory had with not just her mom, but also like her grandparents, the community within the town that they practically raised her. And that's coming from a culture that's like communal like that. It just kind of like drew me to that show. And also in terms of relating with her parents and with her mom especially, that's not something I have. And so I'm just literally like living my fantasy through this show, like, oh my gosh, I wish this is how like my relationship with my mom is, or like with my grandparents, which I never met. But like just that really drew me to that show. Just leaving off them like, oh, next life. Maybe if there's ever next life, I would go to. But yeah.
That's so interesting. Because I know so many people that have told me they've watched the Gilmore Girls and absolutely love it. For me, I knew the show because like you said, CW, ABC Family, like I've seen so many like shows similar to it. Like the show when I was a child, I don't know why, but there was a summer when I was 13 years old. I remember specifically when it was. I was 13 years old, and the Dawson's Creek just gripped me. I don't know what it was about Dawson's Creek, but it just had my attention every single day. There was 2 episodes. I don't know if it was TBS or ABC Family. I can't remember. But 12 o'clock, I was in my room, TV on, watching Dawson's Creek. And so like looking at these like 90s shows, I'm like, I've always known Gilmore Girls, but I never watched it. It wasn't until somebody recommended it to me. They're like, you should watch Gilmore Girls. And I was like, I guess. Like, it's not really like I didn't dislike it, but it just wasn't like, I wasn't just like, what I'm looking to watch is the Gilmore Girls. But she recommended it to me and I chose to watch it, and I've enjoyed it. Like, it took me a little bit to get into it. Like the first few episodes, I was like, what is this? And then and then it started to get on like episode 7. So that was the episode I was like, okay, I understand. I get it. But the first thing I want to talk about with the show is the theme song. Like, I absolutely loved this theme song. It's rare that I don't skip an intro on Netflix. If I watch a show, it's a rarity that I'm not skipping an intro. And there was maybe one time because I was like sleeping. I was like, I need to watch this episode to get through it. But I literally every single time I found myself like watching and then singing the "If you need me, I will follow anywhere that you tell me to." I thought that was one of the greatest theme songs. I don't know, like where does that theme song rank among like great TV show theme songs for you guys?
Listen, I'll tell you, this is one of the best theme songs because the other day I was like cleaning or cooking or doing something in the kitchen, and all of a sudden Zach, my husband, comes out of the room and he says, "Where you lead, I will follow." And he starts singing. I'm like, what the heck? He doesn't really like pay attention, but he's over here like singing the theme song, and he like every now and then will just like start singing it, and I'm like,
that's great. That's great. I think for me, like I'm trying to think of like what other shows like have great theme songs, and like because I feel like I don't know, majority of the '90s shows had great theme songs. And, like if you look back, like Seventh Heaven. I didn't watch that show, but it had a great theme song. Family Matters.
Yeah.
Family Matters.
That was a good one.
Everett. No, it was a Full House. Full House too. Everett. You look. Somebody who needs you. What other theme songs good? I can't think of everything.
I don't know. I mean, I really love it too because it does kind of share a little bit of the story of what you're about to walk into too, and I think that's so sweet, and so it's kind of hard not to want to play it every time because it's like, oh, this is so good, and then when you get into it, you're like, I get it, the relationship that Lorelai and Rory and as it's kind of spiders out throughout the town too, and all everybody, it kind of shows kind of what to expect with the show, where you lead all follow anywhere, right? And so it's like, well, that's kind of Lorelai and Rory's relationship to begin with. They're best friends no matter what. Anything they do, they talk to each other about it. Kind of, like that's their relationship. And so I think that it kind of even the theme song has a part in the show, which is actually really cool. It kind of brings it full circle.
I'm trying to think, like, this was such a good theme song though. Like there's just so many like good ones though. It's like Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. Oh my gosh. I love I'm such an old woman. I love Golden Girls.
Even like Friends is such a good one because it's like I like classic,
everybody gets into it, even if you've never watched the show,
So my expectations for the show, I thought it was like she's gonna be, I don't know, similar to Dawson's Creek, like girl, and it kind of is, like to an extent, but like just girl drama. I didn't expect the relationship between Lorelai and Rory to be so friendly. Like, not, I don't know what I mean, but like in other shows, the parent is a strict disciplinarian, and like she disciplines her, but their connection, like sometimes Rory is the parent to
Yes.
Lorelai. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so funny to me because I'm like, what is going on here? Like Rory's like what, 15, 16 years old or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and she's like, and she's like trying to like, oh, mom, make sure that you do this, or why aren't we at school on time? Yeah,
right.
It's so funny, their dynamic.
I remember one time she was talking about in the episode, she was like, I had a dream about Max. And then Rory was like, was it a dirty dream? And she was like, I'll tell you that when you're 21 years old. And I was like, what kind of conversations are these? I literally was like, what is going on here? So I didn't know what to expect going into the show, but I expected like some, I don't know, some drama, boy stuff, obviously. And that does, kind of kick off what we want to talk about. But season 1 for me, like, was fun. The biggest thing that I took away from the show though was like, I love the small town feel. Like Michelle talked about it, but I love, like, if I could live in a suburban town like that, I would. Like something about, like, I've always lived in big cities. Okay, take it back. I lived in this little suburb. I'm from Pflugerville, Texas. Boston Commons fans know that. But it's just like, it's not the same. I didn't feel like it was that. Like it wasn't like that. Like there was no like Christmas decorations. Everybody in town's coming to town meetings and stuff like that. Like I never have wanted like a close knit town relationship like that until I watched the show, and I'm like, damn, I missed out on this. Like, what was this in my life?
Oh, those town meetings too are kind of, they pop off.
Yeah, like everyone knows your business, which is this downside. But when Cinnamon died, look at the support that they received. Remember Cinnamon, the cat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know
Cinnamon. It was fun.
After that episode, I was thinking, I would love if anything ever happened to either of my cats to have that same support. And I looked at them and I was like, I don't think anyone's going to do that for me,
Max, and then Lorela was telling Max, the reason why she couldn't make the date was because her neighbor's cat died. And Max was like, what? That if you were trying to come up with an excuse, just let me know, because that's unbelievable. Like, he couldn't believe that there will be such communal support for something as trivial as a cat dying. You know what I mean? So that's a true testament to like a small town feel.
Yeah, I agree with that. But that's actually interesting you brought that up, because it kicks off my first topic of this, and that is Lorelai's relationships and the drama around Lorelai's relationship. And we can start with Max. So what was y'all's opinion of Lorelai and Mr. Max Medina? By the way, it's season 1. Don't try to into season 2.
Anything. Do not try
to season 2. I am still watching. It's first time.
I'm strictly focusing on this. Okay. Max Medina, I love him so much. However, this might be another hot take. I just don't think Lorelai knows what she wants, which is really unfortunate, because Max is such a great, such a catch, such a great guy. It's also kind of wild to me that from the very beginning to the very end of this season, like all of a sudden Lorelai has been proposed to. But it's first of all, that's crazy. They've only had been dating. They broke up.
Proposed to twice.
And they've only been dating for like a month or two. Like, what? That's crazy. And so that threw me off a bit. Like, and as they're like kind of doing their relationship thing, they like fight a lot with each other. I feel like they both may not even really know what they want. I think like Max Medina is such a great, like, what you would want in a guy, you know what I mean? I don't know about Lorelai guys, but like, and then them coming together, it's kind of strange, but I liked him. he was my favorite. Just
wow,
throwing that
your
out.
favorite. Okay.
I would say so. Yeah. As of this current moment.
I definitely was a fan of Max. Like I liked him as a like potential husband for her.
Mhm.
However, they're just like for me, like the chemistry wasn't there for them. It was more of like, oh, this is a really good guy for Lorelai. But from just watching like the first season, you already know Lorelai's got issues. Like there's no way that it's gonna work out in
Big
favor.
facts.
So it was kind of like a too good to be true thing. And I think I agree with Michelle. It's like she doesn't really know what she wants. So the fact that like this great guy like is in her life and Rory likes him and like he's good for her, like you just know like it's not what she is gonna. I mean, I don't want to ruin anything, but I don't think they're gonna get married, right?
Wow, Amanda.
Wow. Really subtle there.
It's really subtle. Yeah, really subtle. I mean, I feel like I know what the end game's gonna be. Like, I feel like I know. I'm not. Don't say it, but I mean, Luke seems like in game, but we'll get there eventually.
Keep watching.
Lorelai has issues.
She's very spontaneous and she just loves drama. Like I don't think she can ever be in a boring relationship where she doesn't fight. Because even if there's no fight, Lorelai's gonna pick up. She's gonna create drama and fight. So, I did like Max just because I thought, he would be able to bring that stability for Rory. But Lorelai, like Michelle said and Amanda said, like I don't think she knows what she wants, especially because she hasn't been dating for a long time. And so when Max came along, it was like, oh, when she was telling who was she talking to at Luke's diner, and she was like, oh, it would be good to do, like that's actually what she was waiting for, just getting back in the game of doing the thing. So anyways, yeah.
I like Max. I don't know. Like everybody said, that first of all, the dude had Riz, like insane Riz. That boy was good with his words, knew poetry. Like at the end,
English teacher.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like I was taking notes. I was like, bro, this is good stuff. Like I was like, he sent her 1,000 flowers.
That was
like, boy, I was like, this is the
romantic.
That was romantic. That was sweet.
I know. I thought
and it was wasted on her. I'm so mad.
I was like, this dude with the Riz. So like, I was like, bro, that's a great. I literally was like, bro, that's a fan. Because I love sending flowers. So like, I was like, but 1,000 might be expensive. But I literally was like, that is a fantastic.
Teacher salary.
I did. I know on teacher salary too. He's doing something on the side. But I was like, that's a fantastic idea. Like he was a good dude. But yeah, like you guys said, he just didn't know what he wanted either. But definitely Lorelai. From what I'm learning from the show, season 1, Lorelai has no idea what she wants. She just lives life by the seat of her pants.
Yep. She has this mystery and sexiness to her that draws men to her, and that can be a good or a bad thing,
I think to your point though, there's something there about that, but I think that once you start peeling back the layers, you're like, oh, this girl has some serious issues. That's why she's mysterious and sexy, because no one wants to put in the work to figure that one out, so we just leave her alone. And then she stays this way.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you talk about her issues. How much do you think that like stems from like the way she grew up? You know what I mean? And then getting pregnant.
She needs therapy, like 90.
She needs therapy.
That's what I said the whole episode, dude.
No, that does a lot of damage to someone, especially if you like her parents care more about what other people think of them than actually knowing their daughter's quirks and what she likes and what she doesn't like. And her now getting pregnant or whatever with Rory, they were so fearful of what society will think of them and how that's going to affect their influence and position in society than actually being there for their daughter. You know what I mean? And that really damages, like, especially a teenager, damages someone's mindset and So she's looking for something that she never got with her parents. Like she's looking for it in all these relationships, and you have to find it within yourself. It's not anywhere,
And I think too, like, can you imagine, like, she's 16 and she gets pregnant and then she's like by herself, so she parents to like help raise her. She kind of just like has to figure it out on her own, which is pretty much like a lot of people, right? It's like you don't know what the heck you're doing, but you're figuring it out. And the people in Stars Hollow were the ones to help her, and they're all have their like quirks and characteristics about them that make them so fun and unique. So it's like a little bit of all of these people kind of like make up her character. And I think that's why I like Lorelai so much, because she's like spunky, but she's like got this, where she grew up with, Richard and Emily, the Gilmore name and all of that. But she also has like all of Stars Hollow that's kind of made her who she is. And I think that like embodies her character throughout the entire series that I love so much.
Yeah. Yeah, that was when I first started watching the show, and she's like meeting her family. I'm like, why does she hate her family so much? Like, you grew up in a nice home, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, nice life. But then as the season progresses, you see like the angst among her mom, and like really it's her mom. Oh, maybe her dad a little bit too, because he cares a lot about his name, like what he's built. But like her dad seems like the chillest dude. Maybe again, I'm on season 1, and I'm also a dude, so
that does what the mom tells him to do, which is typical of that time in America. The culture was like it was more traditional. The ladies are like, the men like goes out to work all day, but the women are the ones that like kind of like take care of the household, and they mostly know everything, and whatever they say is what the guy does. So
I think of the two, I really, really like my favorite of the two, Emily, and I forgot his name, the dad's name. Richard. I like Richard. I prefer Richard because even though he is this, supposed to look like this really strong, really stoic guy, dad, father figure, you see it throughout this season, and there's little bits and pieces where he shows a lot of heart without really bringing it super forward. Whereas Emily, she has a chip on her shoulder, where I'm sure from her perspective, it may feel like, in general, as like parents, every parent can only do so much for their kids. Like, my parents have only been able to provide what they were able to provide, which wasn't much at the time, Now, if you had more resources and better understanding of certain things, maybe things would have been different for me growing up, for example. So I feel like in some ways she may have feel like she failed. But like, view it from her perspective too. You have everything. What could you possibly need more of? But the problem with that too is from like that family dynamic, the thing that she was lacking was love, affection. Lorelai was love, affection, and all the basic needs of any child. And she mentions that in one of the episodes, and it kind of sucks because it's like, even though I may not necessarily relate to Lorelai or relate to Emily or that dynamic, that kind of stung a little bit. I'm like, oh, that kind of hurts. I can understand where like that dynamic is very hard to kind of try to piece back together, like fix it,
Yeah.
I actually relate a lot with Richard and Emily. My parents are like that. Really grew up not lacking anything financially. Like back home, everything was like, but except for the basic. And my parents never told me I love you. Like, they didn't show emotions. They were very stoic, like just like Emily. And the way they showed love was making sure you go to the best schools, you have the best things, like all those things. And I give props to Lorelai, because she was, if she didn't go leave home, she wouldn't have been able to teach Rory the more important things of life outside of material things. If you recall one of the episodes, Emily was telling Rory to like put a post-it note on like the things they needed. And you know, like for the wheel, like, oh, what we're writing our wheel, so just put a post-it note on what you like and we'll give it to you. Like, what? That's not what a child needs.
Wild.
Right.
I mean, I can go to a grocery store and then shop for things I need, like for like my like. Will you leave to your child? What are the things you leave to your child? Like character, integrity, like love, not material things. And I give props to Laura because I don't know if she hadn't left home, she wouldn't have been able to teach Rory. Like there are more important things than material things. There's community, there's friendship, there's love, there's all these things, and that Emily never had that. If you continue to watch, you would see that it's a ripple effect from how Emily was also treated, you know, and then she's just passing it on. And Laura was the one that was brave enough to break that chain or that pattern, maybe not willingly, but maybe because of circumstances, she was forced to look inward and break that pattern. But I give props to her. And I also respect Emily because it's not easy to keep the household running, especially with their status and all of that. I know how hard that can be, especially if you grew up in that kind of society. And so Richard only was just running the business, but she did much more than keeping the household running. She was literally the backbone of that house. Though there's some choices or decisions that she made that weren't the best, but without Emily, I don't think the Gilmore household would exist because she was like the backbone, you know.
Facts. This is all good. Look at this is great. This I love this segment. That was awesome. That was applause. That was fantastic. I love that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Richard. I as a guy, I kind of relate to Richard because like in my mind, like obviously, my plan is to give love to whatever kids I have or whatever like that. But like as a man, like you want to provide, right? And Richard, in his mindset, he's like, I'm providing for my family. My wife should be taking care of the little stuff, and then you know, Lorelai like not obeying some of the stuff that they do. He's like, you know, I kind of like get his perspective a little bit, but then obviously there's some things where it's like, oh, you're going way over the line. But mostly I feel like the mom is the one that kind of was like, I don't know. Like you said, I haven't gotten that far to know the history of what happens with Emily, but we'll get there. So we'll progress. But we'll talk about a couple other relationships with Lorelai, but I want to get into Rory, because she has an interesting perspective because she is the kid of the pregnant girl, right? And so like it's always interesting to me like to see them talk about her as if she's not even around. You know what I mean? Like you talk about, oh, you got pregnant. Like there was an argument between the two families when Christopher came back, and they're like, yeah, and they were talking about the past. This girl had that baby, and it's like the baby is 16 and she's in the other room. You know, like she's right there. And so she does have a different lifestyle because I mean, her and her mom grew up pretty together. But one thing I'll talk about with her is her relationship with Dean, and then I guess Tristan's gonna come into play at some point. He kind of did in the season. We haven't got there yet. But what first of all, what's your thoughts on Rory? You guys relate to Rory? You like Rory? You know, what are your thoughts on Rory? But then also, what do you think about Dean?
I love Rory. Like I love Rory. She's like one of my favorite characters of all time because she's so nerdy and cute. Like you can't like not like her. I mean, later on in the series, you know, you may like her, you may not like her, or whatever. But I just always loved her because I related to her. It's like she was taught what she was taught, and her focus is like school and school and school, and like the boys thing is like kind of new to her. So especially watching it growing up, I was in a very similar spot. I'm like, I'm focusing on school and like, oh my goodness, there's boys here. Like, what do I do? And it's kind of fun to watch her navigate her relationships and just her life with Lorelai. I don't know. It's fun to watch as a viewer because especially for someone that's watching it because you can relate to her, it's fun, you know. So I'm always team Rory. Like I'm a big fan of her.
I love Rory because I was so nerdy. I would lock myself in the library and read books and all of that. Like I will be the person reading books on the bus, just like she did. And so I relate so much to her. But I feel like she might have hidden herself in the books because of being raised by a mom that's that unstable, and also just not relating to her that much, except when they do their humor and their jokes. Yeah. But I feel like she might have found solace in those books, because for me, that's what happened. Like when you're in a really unstable family situation, you turn to what you think will bring stability. And because every time you go to those stories, it's constant. It's the same thing. You know what's gonna happen. You just need to read to the end. You know what I mean? And so that's a form of stability that she found, and she might have turned to those books. And then Dean coming on the scene is like, oh, there's something else out there that can bring me comfort and bring me whatever. And Dean is cute and everything. I love Dean. But like the typical good girl and then bad guy vibes, is what I'm seeing happening with Dean, and also maybe with Tristan later on. But I think the being nerdy and all of that was maybe the way she coped with being raised by Lorelai.
I like Rory. Rory's cute. She's a cute, smart kid. She's very book smart and not anything else. She doesn't really know what's going on with the world. You know what I mean? She's not street smart. But you live in, Stars Hollow, so I guess you don't have to be. But she's a cute kid. I think maybe at one point I related to her. Very naive in the world and very like, the books is all I know. And this is what makes sense to me, and I'm really good at school stuff, and that's kind of my pursuit, you know what I mean? But it is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think in some ways I do agree with you, Taiwo, like her kind of need to have some level of stability because her mother isn't. I also wonder too if she also doesn't have stability because she is a child still, so she's still trying to navigate the world on top of that, and that's kind of a whole topsy-turvy situation too. I will say I think Dean is super sweet and such a cute little bag boy. I don't know if he's a bad boy though. I would disagree with the bad boy vibe. I think that Tristan is an interesting, very sad kid. And I think he's trying to pursue something that he knows he shouldn't be doing and knows he shouldn't have. And I just don't, I feel bad for Tristan, honestly. He seems like he lives a very sad life.
Yeah, I feel bad for all the kids at Chilton. They're sad bunch.
I was gonna say, like, it's definitely interesting watching like this show because first of all, she goes to this school that is filled with like, these crazy like private school, like, what you would imagine this like Chilton culture or whatever. Mm-hmm. And or her, her moving to Chilton. And it's just funny watching her navigate like her old school to switch to like this school and the environment around her. I think she just wanted like, for her anyways, it's like she wants something else. Like she knows that the world is out there, but she's so naive, like you said earlier, and she doesn't know because she's like, she doesn't have, it's just her and her mom, and like, Lane, right? But it doesn't seem like she has any really other friends at her old school. So to see her navigate, the boy thing is very funny. I was always a fan of Dean. Although he wasn't my favorite, I think he was a really good first boyfriend because he's like this classic, like, I wouldn't necessarily say bad boy. Yeah, but I would say like just different, he's a little like rugged, but like he's a teenage boy, so like how rugged can you be? So I was a fan of him. He wasn't my favorite, because there was just like, I don't know, he was kind of annoying to me. Just watching it, he was just really annoying. I was never really a Jared Padalecki fan anyways. I loved Chad Michael Murray when I was younger. He was like one of my childhood crushes, but Tristan bugged the crap out of me. So.
Yeah, obnoxious, quite obnoxious.
Yeah,
I think I relate more to Lane than I do Rory or Lorelai. I'm just gonna be honest.
Lane is amazing.
Lane is my favorite. Her life, her mom, like all of it. I relate so
Did
well.
you see how
Her
she has
little emo vibe, you know?
Yeah, and then
it.
she has a different, like a closet is a main, the Lane room. And then did you see that she has a closet and it's like Lane vibes, and then the room is like the mommy vibes. Like she really, I give her props. Like she created a home. Like she had her own life in spite of the restrictions and limitations. You know, just she was able to make something out of it. But yeah,
I will say it's kind of a weird. I don't know. Would you say it's a juxtaposition, like how Emily was with Lorelai? I would say maybe in some ways, minus the money, is very similar to how Lane's mom is with Lane. But I feel like Lane is more well-rounded than Lorelai.
yes.
I don't know what that's about. That's interesting to me. just a thought. It's kind of weird. So I don't know. I think she respects her mom more than Lorelai respects her mom. It might be what it is, you know.
But no, that's great. So I would say, do you guys remember your first boyfriend? Like the first one you guys had? And what age did you guys have your first boyfriend? 5th grade. Wow.
Yeah, but it didn't really count.
Yeah, I was kind of like Lane. I didn't have my first boyfriend until after high school.
I had my first boyfriend until high school.
Very strict disciplinarians.
Mine were too. I think I was, first of all, it was like a 5-year relationship. But it was like, I think I was like 17, 18 years old. So that was not a great one. I'm glad I'm not there anymore.
Nice. I'll bring it up.
My first boyfriend was in the 5th grade, but I didn't talk to him for a year. I was nervous.
How is that your boyfriend?
I was too nervous to talk to him. I was like, "Oh, you're my boyfriend," but then I was too nervous, so we didn't talk for like 2 years. We might still be together.
That is the funniest thing ever.
Oh my god!
Yeah, my first real boyfriend wasn't until high school, but yeah, that was my first ever boyfriend.
That's hilarious.
That's a great story.
Yeah. Also, the Chilton school culture, like when Rory got admitted and then the principal was like telling her, "You will never make it here." Like, I mean, I understand you're trying to motivate her to like figure it out, but just like talking, like the way, the culture of like like just sense of achievements and just making it no matter what. I don't know if that's really healthy, because it just breeded like very mean competition between the students, especially that girl. What's her name? Like I always feel like
Paris.
Yeah.
Ask that girl Paris. Oh my god.
That girl is the most annoying. Like, so it's just very sad that because those kids, their parents are already rich and obviously they're not getting the basic love and support, but then being sent to a school like that is not helping because they're also not looking at what each child needs. They just want to make sure they get straight A's, but it's not about getting straight A's and all of that. And so that's another thing about, I don't know, you know, I get that Rory wants to go to Harvard, but like just Chilton wasn't, like, in my opinion, the best school, you know.
Paris
what do you
is
think
a
about
piece
the
of work.
girls? Talk to me, Paris, and the girls.
Paris season 1 was the most annoying person in the entire world. Like she was just like rude, like
conniving, just
like, yeah, just evil, like an evil girl, you know? It's just like.
I will say though, in bits and pieces, and as you watch, like even in season 1, Paris is growing up. Like as you watch her, like each episode, as you watch her kind of progress, just season 1, she looks like she's growing up. Also, I'd be tempted to say that Paris probably had no competition and Rory's her competition, but she's the only one that's the most competent to Paris, similar to her. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do become friends because they are very similar. You know what I mean? So
That was really good.
not when you guys do that. Stop.
Wow.
Make it normal.
First, Amanda says, I liked Dean as her first boyfriend. And then Michelle says, I wouldn't be surprised if they become friends.
I didn't realize that was a spoiler.
Well, I'm a little not sorry.
Yeah, because at the finale, her and Dean get back together. Like that was the last episode. Like that was the last episode was her and Dean kissing in front of the truck, and then they're back together. So where it left my cliffhanger is
we're just gonna stay there then. I you know, it's funny when we talk about that. Let's talk about the car. let's hard write this conversation.
So what, the car he's building for her, or
yeah, I thought that was such a sweet thing, but also it's kind of like it was so sweet.
Yes,
it was such a sweet thing. I will say, you guys have been dating what, maybe like a month is what they were like celebrating. 3, okay, and then he's like, "Oh hey, I love you," but also, which is sweet. But you guys, I'm pretty sure this is your first relationship.
But like in your first relationship, that's what you think. Like you think.
I guess so. I guess so.
I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with. Like we've only known each other for 3 months, but I love you so much. Now I'm gonna like, you know, change my life for you and build you a car. Like that's like I was like,
look. Do you think that his response to Rory's not saying I love you was like the right way to go about it though? Because it was like, I was like, oh, okay, now you're making me not like you now, you know?
Am I still glitching? Like, am I still glitching? Because I have a comment on this. Am I still
okay?
Go for it. Oh my gosh, yes. First of all, yes, we've gotten here and I want to talk about, first of all, the 3-month anniversary. I was like, let's do, like, for me, again, y'all have been together with y'all's guys for forever. Whenever I find a girl, I'm going to do a 3-month anniversary just because. If she likes the Gilmore Girls, I'm going to be like, 3-month anniversary, we're getting spaghetti, the meatball thing. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a mother-daughter thing, even though it's not a mother-daughter thing. Building the car, I can't do that. But I thought like I was like, bro, I was like, this dude, like that. I like Dean. Like Dean seemed like a good guy. Like the whole show, I'm like, he's done nothing wrong. Like he's been a good dude. Like he was a little like aggressive with the kissing. I was like, damn, bro. Like, but it's his first girlfriend, so I get 16 years old. You know, as a guy, I'm like, I understand. But I was like, that was great. But yeah, no, I understood kind of how you felt because you're 16, you tell a girl you love her, you're expecting to feel the same thing back, and she's like, I can't say it, right? Yeah. And I'm like, and so he's like, well, I'm breaking up with you then, because I get just the emotion because you're like, I'm doing all stuff. She showed me I love this girl. I need to say it. This is my first time saying I love you to somebody, and you say it, and they don't say it back to you. Oh, like. The word for I mean, everybody here is pretty much married. Almost everybody has a date set and everything like that. Who said I love you first? But you or your spouse?
I did. And he didn't say it back right away.
I'm about to say. So then my next question: who said it first? And then they say it back to you immediately. And if they didn't, how'd you feel?
Not great.
Zach said it first, and I didn't say it.
Same.
But I still married him.
And we're here, you know.
So just Michelle can understand then. So how did you feel, Michelle? Like, did you feel like
I felt kind of hurt. I felt like, oh man, what do I do? You know, like I didn't, you know, him not saying I love you back doesn't really mitigate the response of, well, I guess we're gonna break up, you know, because I love him. I want to, you know, continue pursuing this relationship.
Agreed.
You know, But yeah, it didn't feel great. You know, it was kind of awkward for a minute. And then maybe like, I don't remember, maybe like a month later, he said it in the exact same way I said it. I guess long story short, he was pretending to propose. And I was like, don't do that, because the real time that you do, I'm not gonna believe you. And then he was chasing me in his apartment. And then I hid inside the closet. And I was like, you can't do that because I love you. And he's like, I can't say it. A month later, he chases me back to the closet, and we're sitting on the floor, and he says, I love you. So it was a really sweet turnaround kind of situation. But yeah, it doesn't feel good, you know? So I can imagine, especially for like a 16-year-old kid, you know, they're like, oh, then this relationship's over. It's not going anywhere. I get that. Yeah. But
sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. But
no, you're good.
Like, I've been in a situation like I you know, pre-relationship, I said I love you first, and then she didn't say it back for like same time frame. And I was like, dang, that kind of sucks that she didn't say it back. Like you said, it just comes out, and you're like, oh, it's out there now. And then you know what I mean? And then like, and then also they reciprocate. So then you're like, because it's like this big, like it's a big deal to say I love you to somebody. Yeah. You know, and like you know, so it's like, and so like he says it, and he doesn't reciprocate, and like in my mind, I'm like, as a 16-year-old boy that doesn't like that's trying to figure out emotions, and he says this, and the girlfriend doesn't say it back, automatically like, well, I guess it's not gonna work out, you know. So I understood why he reacted that way. Was it the smartest thing? No, but you're 16 and you're full of hormones and everything like that. So I understood. Again, I relate to a lot of the guys in the show, because I'm like, I relate to Tristan. I understand being like a boy that's like, no, I'll take that back. I some aspects of Tristan. No. See, that's why I stopped. I thought myself. I was like, let me back up, because I wasn't the popular.
Off the record.
Yeah. So, but like, there's some aspect of Tristan where I was like, okay, I understand that for sure. Luke, I get Luke. Me and Luke are like same person. But everybody else, I was like, I understand these people. Like, I get the guy's perspective of everything.
I will say though, you know, when Rory didn't say it back, I feel like if she may have said it, or I was thinking it, one of the two, but her only example of what love looks like is her mom, who doesn't have a stable relationship. And it's like, you know, I get it from a guy's perspective. Yeah, that hurts. Maybe we should break up at 16, you know, whatever. But from her perspective, she's like, I don't think I did anything wrong, because I don't have like a clear you know, path of what this is supposed to even look like. You know, this is my example. And do I say it now? And then is it going to be the same situation that my mom was in too? You know, so
that's good. No, that's good. So she broke. Obviously, they broke up. She doesn't really handle it well. She kisses Tristan at the party or whatever, which is like, what is going on? How
emotions?
Do y'all again? I like asking people perspective questions. Do y'all remember y'all's first heartbreak? Like your first breakup, maybe first boy, 5th grade. You broke up with your boyfriend. You actually, you know, remember?
We never broke up.
Yeah. The one that breaks up with the person.
Oh, you're usually the heartbreaker.
Yeah. So like.
Oh, dang.
So yeah,
I am too. Actually, I think I might have one time where someone broke up with me.
I remember it was my first high school girlfriend. My first girlfriend was in high school, and we broke up. And like it was terrible. It was like because it's the first time I ever broke up with somebody. We like mutually broke up, but like I was just like, there's a specific song that I cannot listen to. To this day, cannot listen to.
Oh, dang.
And it's the Alicia Keys song. It's like, if I wonder maybe would I make you my baby? I don't know the name of the song, but that song was like our song. Like we used to always like listen to it all together all the time. Like, and that relationship, I'm like, dang, I can't listen to that song. There's actually two girls that I relate 2 songs with. I can't listen to either one of those songs because the girls, like, one was in college, one was in high school, and like both of them were just like such heartbreaks. I was like, I can't listen to this music anymore because
this is why maybe attaching people to songs is a horrible idea. You're just gonna not be able to listen to music.
Yeah. We need to have an offline session, Savon. Do we need to talk about this?
No. We worked through the heartbreak. I've dealt with the heartbreak, you know, but like those 2 songs, like there's 2 songs where I'm like, bro, I am not trying to relive any of these memories of that, because like anyways. But that's my heartbreak story. of like you dealing with that. So like when she was like trying to like be all cool girl with her heartbreak, I was like, girl, get you some ice cream, get you some.
Yeah, for real. Did you
That
see
is
how
what
big
I was doing.
that thing of ice cream is? Where do you get that? Is it HEB?
Yeah. Where? Put it on the chat. What else?
I need to figure out
Coffee
what she
and
got.
Comet is not sponsored by HEB.
Yeah. The little asterisk in the corner.
That is true. But anybody else heartbreak stories, or am I the one that's for done?
No, I've got two, but I think like when I was younger, it was the whole like Taylor Swift thing. I would lock myself in the room and played sad songs, but I don't think I ever was like the person to like do the opposite, kind of like what Rory did. She kind of like switched things up and was like, oh, I just need to find relief somewhere else or whatever. But I think at that moment, I think that's what's really cool about this is because you see that relationship between Rory and Lorelai, and she's going through something that's so traumatic for her at this time in her life, like her first heartbreak. Like I remember that, and that was like as a 16-year-old, like you were depressed. I mean, well, you could be depressed. Like I locked myself in the room, like singing sad songs, like crying and all the things, like the dramatic things that everybody does. Like I did that. And I think for me, it was cool to see how Lorelai would just kind of like let her do her thing. But it was also like at the end of the day, she's gonna be there for her, and Rory knows that. For me, like that was really cool to see because I was like, oh, that's kind of how my mom was for me. As an adult looking back and watching that, I'm like, dang, my mom was there for me when I went through some crazy times when I blasted Taylor Swift, like, level 40, and my mom's just upstairs like, chilling, and she's like, yeah, my daughter's going through it, but I'm gonna let her do the thing.
But yeah, so I mean, those are kind of like some of the bigger moments of this season, right? So Rory goes to Chilton. We see everything went on with her family's relationship, like Lorelai and the parents, all these different like nuances throughout the show. One thing I will note too that I love about the show is the fact that they have like specific like episodes for Christmas and Halloween. Like when you watch Netflix shows now, there's no. I talked about this before in a review I did. There's no shows that do like the Halloween special. Like that doesn't happen anymore. The Christmas special anymore. I'm like, bro, bring that back. That's what's wrong with today's kids. Huh?
That was good stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, bring that back. Like more PSAs. Like, let's talk about getting away, pedophilia and like why you like. There was an episode of what's the I forgot what show it was with the short dude that never grew up, the black guy. It was a Growing Pain, not Growing Pains. Y'all know what I'm talking about? What show I'm talking about? He was a midget, and he was a black guy, black midget. Never mind. I'm off topic. Does not matter. But that was an episode where there was a pedophile in the neighborhood, and it was this episode of like, watch out for pedophilia. Like, we need that. Anyways, way off topic of the show. We got into pedophilia. But anyways, so all these little things, but I love the fact that they have this episode where it's like Halloween special or Christmas special, stuff like that.
I think I love that too. I'm just gonna say this because I watch Gilmore Girls every single year, multiple times a year, for as long as I can remember. It's just like a go-to for me. But like when I think Gilmore Girls, I always think fall. So like for me, this is a show where like around like September, even sometimes in August, I'm ready to watch Gilmore Girls. Like I'm ready for like the seasons because we don't get that here in Texas. So I kind of live vicariously through them because I watch them like when the snow falls and I'm just like, oh my God, snow. And then it's like winter and like it's 70 degrees here. So I love that too. That's like one of my favorite things about the show is you get to experience all the seasons through them.
Nice.
Yep. So yeah, so that was pretty cool. I like that about the show. I'm trying to think of like other things that happened, key moments. I mean, the biggest things I feel like happened from the season was Rory and Dean's relationship, Lorelai and Max obviously getting together, Chris popping up, kind of ruined for me what would have been the biggest. I mean, it's probably like it's still a subplot throughout the whole show, but like there was a point in the season where Lorelai and Luke were going to get together. It felt like they were moving towards it. Like I still feel like in game for the show is Lorelai and Luke. Don't ruin it for me. But like there was an episode like it seemed like they were gonna get together, and then Chris popped up out of nowhere, right? And then she sleeps with Chris, and it's like, okay, Lorelai, what the hell are you doing? And then Luke, and then they come back together. They're about to like paint or whatever, and then no, not Paint. They already that was the episode Paint, and then Rachel shows back up, and I'm like, what is going on in the show that like they just can't be together? Like Luke can't express his feelings, and you know it's so stupid. Like I don't know, like I think we can wrap up with like talking about Luke and Lorelai and y'all's thoughts on the relationship. We also talk about like, Suki and Jackson too, if y'all want to talk about like, side characters as well.
She's my favorite.
Oh, is she? Okay. So pause. Let's leave Lorelai and Luke to wrap up. We'll talk. So Suki and Jackson. Melissa McCarthy is fantastic, but I didn't realize I was Melissa McCarthy until like I was like, oh, why do I know this lady? And I was like, oh, it's Mac.
Tripping and breaking things in the kitchen.
I know.
It's
like so
she's so
wholesome. Cool. Yeah, I love Michelle too. Michelle was
he's great.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh.
He's hilarious.
Wonderful.
But
his accent is the funniest thing ever. But
no, I was gonna say. So, what do y'all think about Suki's character in the show and Jackson and them? I don't know. That was kind of weird. I was like, this is
Jackson is weird. But
I was like, why is this something that's kind of a focal point for the show? It seems like such like a side character kind of thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I love Suki, her character. It's fun because Melissa McCarthy is just so like funny and without like being a comedian during the show. It's like her character is so funny and it's like fun to watch because she's like clumsy and she's Lorelai's best friend and they also work together. So their interactions are always really funny. But I loved Suki and Jackson's like relationship at first where it's just like they're always arguing, but there's like always a little bit of tension, but it's fun tension. And it's like, okay, I see you. I thought that was so cute though. I thought it was really cute.
I fully 100% agree. I also feel like in most ways, that Suki is more of an adult than Lorelai as well. So I feel like she kind of goes to Suki often to like vent. Obviously, they're best friends, but I feel like Suki's more of an adult, like, handles things a little bit differently. But, minus the fact that she is pretty clumsy in the kitchen, but she's also a chef that throws me off a little bit. She's great. I love it. It's funny. She's just very slapsticky, and I really enjoy that.
I love Suki because like she's someone that I would want to have as my friend because she has a good heart, and I think she's more of a better friend to Lorelai than Lorelai is to her. Because she's always there for Lorelai, like she's ride or die. But it's just I love her character as well because like she's so funny. She's passionate about food. Like anything food is like she's there. Like I like when she went to Luke's and she literally got behind the counter and started like seasoning up all this white people's food. I was like, oh, you like spice, and I was like, this is good. But I love that she was there, and as you continue to say, she's really there for Lorelai, but I'm not sure if she's as much of a good friend. Lorelai is as much of a good friend to her in return.
Also, side note, did anybody notice that like throughout this whole like not much of a spoiler, Lorelai really likes coffee and talks about going to the diner all the time. Oh, relax. And she's like, oh, you have to go to Luke's. Luke's has the best coffee. Well, have you ever noticed that Luke takes coffee from like a store-bought tin? Like you can buy his coffee. Has anybody seen that?
I've never noticed it. No.
Like there's a clip in the seat, like I saw it and I paused it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not the best coffee. This is just regular store bought coffee.
I wonder why she loves Luke's coffee. Maybe you find out.
Because Luke serves it. That is why.
But like you can't say that about Rory. That you know what I mean? Like she says it too. Like, oh, you gotta go to Luke. Like
I don't know. There's some places though that like have really good coffee that I'm like, this place I will get coffee every time I go there because their coffee is just better. I don't know what it is.
Maybe so. I don't know. It threw me off. I don't like coffee, so it just was like, oh, you could just get this at the store and make it yourself. Cool.
Yeah,
I guess that's the end of the story.
Yeah, but Lorelai doesn't want to. Like,
that's true. There was a point within the episode, if not was it the first episode or the second one where Lorelai was looking through the diner and was like with Rory and was like, what do you think about Luke? And Rory was like, oh, you cannot date Luke because if you do, we have to find a different place to eat. We can't do this because you're gonna ruin our food. I thought that was kind of funny. So
I have always been Team Luke since the very first episode where she goes in and she's like, coffee, 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 coffee. He's like, how many of you had? And she said like 2 or whatever. And I think it was the first episode. And Luke's like, really? Like he just knows her.
yes.
She's like 5. And he's like, okay. And I think like they're just like, they have this banter. Well, Lorelai in general has like the whole series has like the best banter ever, but between Luke and Lorelai, it's just like there's this chemistry that from day one you're like, oh my gosh, you like kind of already are Team Luke, and you're just like praying like, I hope they end up together. Like I hope she doesn't screw this up.
I genuinely noticed it though whenever she came to the house. Yeah.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. I like Luke a lot. I guess I would agree. I am also a Team Luke. However, I feel like if anybody would be like the best person to be in a relationship with Lorelai, it would be Chris. Because I feel like they're both very chaotic, and I don't think it's fair to destroy someone else's life with your chaoticness. So in part of me is like, I don't want you to be with Luke because I like Luke and I don't want you to break him, just like I don't want you to break Max Medina, just like, you know what I mean? And so I think the only person you're allowed to break is Chris because you've already broken him and he's also broken himself. So it's like, those are my thoughts. Maybe everything I say is going to be a hot take today. I'm sorry.
I've figured out that Chris returns. So that's what I got from that.
That's the dad.
I don't know. I'm figuring things out. We don't know.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. We'll see season 2. But overall thoughts on season 1. Is it one of your favorite seasons? Is it kind of like the build up? Like what do you guys overall think about season 1 from your perspective, knowing what happens the rest of the seasons? If you heard that question, I have no clue or not. I have no idea what Wi-Fi is doing.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't think it was one of my favorite seasons, but it builds a foundation for like the rest of the series. I think like you have good background into all the characters. You kind of have you get to see where Lorelai grew up and how her parents are. You get to see Rory what she's going through and like the innocence about her, but also like that in the series there's going to be some stuff that she goes through or struggle with. So I think like it's a really good season. I obviously like for me, I'm like, I'm going to keep watching this. And I just think it was like lighthearted, like this whole series, I think it's just like lighthearted fun. I think what got me hooked on the show is, like I said earlier, like their banter back and forth, like that is just the best. Like, you can't get that anywhere else. Like Lorelai, they talk a million miles a minute and I'm like, oh my gosh, it reminds me of me and my family because we're like that. And it just cracks me up because they say like funny references and they put movies and all these things. And you're like, oh, that's from this 80s movie. And that for me is so fun to see them do.
Yeah, same. I like the banter, especially when she's with Emily. She gives Emily such a hard time. And it's like, well, sometimes Emily's stupid enough to believe that she's serious. And I'm like, don't you know your daughter? Like 80% of what she says, she's literally joking. But I love how she just gets on her nerves all the time. And this isn't not my favorite, but it's a good build up to the storyline and what's gonna eventually happen in the next seasons. But yeah, it's a good build up. Not my favorite.
I think right now it's my favorite.
Really?
I don't remember a lot of what happens, if I can be so honest, throughout the season. So this is a great refresher, you know? So right now, this is my favorite. I can't really speak on the following seasons. But I think it's because it feels so sweet and innocent. And it's very vanilla, which I kind of like, you know, and it's also, it does kind of give you a bit of a foundation of kind of what to expect. And they do have bits and pieces that they show that are gonna happen or whatever, right? And so it's cool. I like it. I do like it a lot, but I think for this moment, it's my favorite. If we go into season 2, I'll let you know. um, and I do agree. I do like the bantering back and forth. I will admit though, and I know this is gonna make me sound so silly, but I had to Google every single thing that they did, every single thing that they talked about that I didn't understand, in every episode. Let me tell you, that's a lot of Googling, and I feel smarter for it. But gosh, I really wish I knew a lot of what they were like what they were referencing, you know? They reference a lot of books. They reference a book in every at least one book in minus one episode. They reference a book in every single episode or a movie or a TV show, like really old TV shows. So it's like, you know, it's kind of crazy how very I don't know, is it literary, very like very pop culture they are. It's and I'm for me personally, I'm just not hip with the kids, I guess, because I don't know half of the things that they say. I don't get it. And so I did have to Google a lot of it. I feel very old saying that, but it's just the truth.
Hip with the kids. That's fun. It's also a '90s show.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know,
It came out, I think, in the 2000s, didn't it?
2001?
I
I
thought it
think
was
like 2000, 2001 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Foo Fighters makes sense. They're talking about the Foo Fighters. They reference
Yeah.
a lot of like older bands too.
They
do. They
did. Music I understood.
Yeah, all the music references I loved. I think one of the things that the director Amy Pallarino, I think from what I remember, I haven't looked into this in a long time, but her idea was like to base the show off of like an old black and white, like, you know, they're fast paced, they talk, it's a lot of back and forth. And in the show, they do watch like a lot of black and white movies and stuff like that. So I love that idea because I love old movies like that. And I love like music. And I grew up with like my mom watching all the 80s like movies and, you know, the rocker bands and all the things. So I like every single reference. I'm like, that's awesome.
I love that. That's awesome, guys. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for season 2. Any like, what should I expect from from the next, really the series overall, but the next season? Amanda seems to be the historian. She has a lot of knowledge. So what should I expect?
Yeah, Amanda, tell them everything.
A lot of fun,
Okay.
relationships,
Okay.
food,
Food.
Pizza.
Drama?
because girls eat a lot. Like they eat a lot. Yeah, drama. A lot more like Richard and Emily. And coffee.
What a great.
That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate you guys for tuning into this. If you guys have made it this far, it's fantastic. I always tell everybody that made it to the end of the videos, drop a specific emoji in the chat. What emoji should they drop in the comments if they
Coffee
made
mug. Some coffee.
I love it. I thought myself, I thought that too. But so if you made this far, drop a coffee mug in the comments. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in to the episode of Coffee with Friends. Thank my friends for joining. Signing out.